The Hip Hop Show on Cambridge 105 Radio.
Yeah, boy!
I said the hip hop, the hip hop. Today the hop, you don't stop.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, yes, a big welcome to the Hip Hop Show. It's Wednesday, it's 10 p.m, and we're locked in a very special one today. Firstly, well, there's 5 of us in the building. Firstly, I've got my right-hand man in the DJ world, DJ Special Ed. How are we doing?
All good. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you, sir. I've got my right-hand man in the rap world, Fen Stepper. How are we doing?
Yes, how we doing? I'm good, mate. How are you?
All good.
Yes.
More important, well, I say more importantly, but the reason we are here, we've got 2 very special guests. A big shout to Loftie Long and Loftie Shiggz in the building. Come on. This has been long overdue. Now, as the quote goes, in order to move forward successfully, we must be willing to look back. And now, we are here today to reflect and reminisce on something that's often described as legendary, iconic, game-changing, not only for the scene in Cambridge, but for the UK as a whole, especially just outside of London as well, Rawganics. I mean, where do we start? For the listener that might not know anything about what this was, let's take it right back to the beginning. Can you tell us about the beginnings and what, I suppose, your roles were individually there as well?
Okay, that's a hell of a lot to take in. I guess the beginning was, for me, really like linking with Sean was a start for me, and from there we kind of just grew the whole thing. But Sean, to me, was the fundamental element that kind of saw most of the people that were involved within Cambridge and the hip-hop scene, plus other elements like designers, videographers, and he threw the noose around a lot of us, a strong team of 19. He wrote that all together, and from there the rest became history, which is where we're at today. But yeah, I'll put a lot of credit down to this fella here for actually stepping back to Cambridge after taking a few years out and literally like just roping us lot together. There were a load of us that were doing music around the town at the time, various little fractions, DJs, MCs, bands and whatever else.
Yeah. And
like I said, videographers as well, and designers, clothing labels, stuff like this. And it was Sean that like kind of logistically kind of got us all and pulled us all together.
Yeah.
If I remember right, I had a show that was starting. You were running the bridge, wasn't it? Yeah, you ran the bridge in Cambridge, right? He was doing that for a little while with Syncrew, and big up Syncrew.
Yeah, so we actually had Kilo in a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
big
man.
Shout out to him.
It was a great show. You know what? You need to get Lucy down here as well.
Okay, yeah.
Man, that's fundamental for
Trouble
Cambridge
Rock.
hip hop. Yeah, Trouble Rock. Get Trouble Rock up in here, man.
Yeah.
Now, before we go over to Shiggz, partly the reason we're here and the reason there's 5 of us in the building, obviously, we've started putting together events of our own, myself, Special Ed, Fen Stepper, bringing people together, starting an event called Beats and Rhymes, off the back of several other events in Cambridge as well. And it's, I think for us, the reason why all 3 of us are here is because it's just so important for us to really learn and understand how you guys did it for so long and why it was so successful and why it had that longevity. And really, we just want to learn from, I suppose, the greats,
I guess, like I said, the build was really like the fundamental to it, wasn't it? Because you were doing what you were doing prior to that in London with Mudfam and stuff, yeah. But we can go through that in a moment. We need to definitely hit that stuff. But when he'd come back to Cambridge, he started doing the bridge. That thing really worked quite well. As all things do come to an end, that did. I had an opportunity to do a show in a place that was known as the Cooler at one point, but I forget what that place was called.
Cellar bar later.
Yeah, it was a strip club.
Yeah. Oh no, let's not talk about that.
No, we could go there. It's cool. But like,
the Cooler.
I had an opportunity to do a show there. I was given a backroom access to a drum and bass night, and they asked me to do like hip hop in that backroom. Yeah, so I went around the fractions that I knew in the town, yeah, and said like, hey, you want to come and get involved? I need some MCs there, I need some DJs and da-da-da-da-da. He'd recently just finished the bridge. I didn't know him, I hadn't met him or anything, and it was actually on my birthday down at Strawberry Fair, wasn't it?
That's right. That's when the first big link happened.
That's when the big link happened. I saw him standing at a tent, and I was just like...
At a Delegates of Culture gig.
Yeah, that's right.
Loftie was actually DJing for Delegates that day.
Not on that day, I don't think I was.
Oh, wasn't it?
No, I DJed for them previously, but not on that day.
Okay.
I don't think I was. I can't quite recall. I know I was backstage with them.
And obviously they're a big part of Rawganics as well, a massive part of it as well. So
Huge
it was
part,
just, it was a time when a lot of things came together together out of a lot of hard work and quite a lot of luck. And it was just, we were about the time, you know, we were about the city and about what was going on. As he says, pulling different crews in from different places, different skill sets, different creatives. There was a lot of creative people in the town in all different groups. And it just, a combination of hard work, good ideas, and a lot of luck. And, you know, it was just a beautiful thing. It was a Rawganic thing.
There you go.
Know?
There you go.
Sean, I know you said a lot of luck, but what did you see in the, 19 strong for you to think, I can work with these guys, let's go?
Yeah, it's almost like it just seemed to just suddenly start to come together. Like you seem to recognise that, these different groups that we're going to. I think, you know, when you're doing a show, a music show, a party at the end of the day, it's, you know, there's other parties going on, right? You want to get in there to that scene and put on your party and put your flavour onto it and put your twist onto it. But, you know, it's hard to come in just dry to something when, you know, if the town's totally dead, you know, and you're the first person, right? You're going to have 2 people through the door, 3 people through the door, 5 people. And when that 6th person turns up, they're going to go, there's only 5 people here. Like, it's a bit rubbish, isn't it? I'm out. So you kind of get this like momentum going where like things start to happen and you build it from like 50 to 100 and 100 to 150. And when you start seeing these different parties going on at this smaller level, you're thinking, okay, well, if there's 4 decent parties with 50 to 100 people on them, then we could put one big party
with
on
200.
with 200, 300, 400 people. So we were involved in those 50 people parties and in those 100 people parties, putting on shows anywhere we could. Like we just talked about, cellar bar, little sweat boxes, back rooms of pubs, you know, anywhere you could, right? We took he mentions the bridge there, and that was a collaboration between myself, Trouble Rock, and Gillow. So we were the 3 promoters of that show. And again, we were just kind of tapping into stuff that we knew. So I had a background of promoting in London via the Mud Family, via Berry Crew and Mud Family, from a show called Mudlums back in the 90s. And I really learnt most of my trade, if you like, in promotion from them. So I was really just absorbing what was going on there. I had a few things to throw into the pot as well, a few skills to help them out as well. But really, they were showing me the raw basics of this is how you put a show on, this is the DJs you're going to need, the types of acts that you're going to need, the sound system's got to be good, you've got to make sure your security's good, you've got to make sure the venue's nice, it's priced right, etc, etc. So I picked up all of that.
And how to run the promotion across the street as well, wasn't it?
And how to run street teams.
I was going to get into that because obviously this, you know, we have to think about this as a time before social media really became a thing. What was your approach to promotion back then? What did you feel like you needed to do to just spread the word?
Renegade.
Anything you can do, you know? Yeah. Get what we were talking about when we first came in. Get letters from the council saying you're putting too much stuff up on our street furniture. Yeah. You just got to go for it. You know, it's like literally.
So we went for an all-out attack, you know, but it wasn't, you know, it was flyers, it was posters, so traditional things that you do with promotions, but also we would just get any bit of publicity we could in whatever way we can. So, you know, back then magazine publishing was a big thing. Yeah, I had some links through some journalist work that I used to do with Hip Hop Connection magazine.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yeah,
so I was able to get a little bit of exposure in there, not big pages or anything, but you know, just in listings. So you know, old school, it used to be about listings, right? You used to just contact a magazine, say we've got our night, they'd have their weekly nights and then they'd have their specials. We'd usually go into the specials because we're doing like a monthly thing or whatever, right? But you're talking about Blues and Soul magazine, do you know what I mean? Echoes magazine, The Voice, exactly.
Anywhere where you can get it,
anywhere that you could, and you'd just be ringing up, you just cold call in their promotions line, get an email, whatever, send a pack of flyers, whatever you had to do, just get exposure. And then on the local scene, we would just go to, again, any avenue that we could. Cambridge Evening News. You know, we would ring up their news desk and just say, we're putting on a hip-hop show. Yeah. And they'd be like, what's a hip-hop show? Or, you know, who's Roots Maneuver? Who's this? Who's that? Right. They didn't need to know about that. We just feed them the information because we just took the approach that, you know, it might not be you that heard about it. It might be your mum or your uncle or your nephew or your cousin. And they say, oh, you're into hip-hop. Oh, I read about that in the Cambridge Evening News. Like, there's a show going on at
Someone's
Junction.
passing the info around, you see what I mean?
Yeah. And, you know, Shiggz, I spoke to you the other day off air as well, and you mentioned not only were you promoting in Cambridge, but further afield as well.
Yeah, we hit it hard.
With your 19-strong team, was it Dirty Stop Out?
Dirty Stop
Crew,
Out.
shout out, okay.
Shout out to the crew.
You know, you were, I suppose, distributing your family, your crew, far and wide, with the likes of Peterborough and
absolutely,
you know,
you've got to be
Bedford.
I think to do a big show that's going to have more than coverage just in your own town, you've got to be at every big show.
Yeah.
So you're going to all the similar shows. You know, so we're going to all the big hip hop shows when the American acts are coming to London. We're outside Astoria,
hanging out. Yeah.
You know, we're in Kentish Town. We're in, you know, up
to Norwich.
We're up Norwich. We're at Peterborough. We're everywhere. And when you're coming back on the motorways, our job was, wasn't it? If you see a sign that's saying Cambridge, it don't matter if you're like 50, 60 miles an hour. You're putting a Rawganics poster on there. So you used to have the bucket in the back of the car.
See, this is where we're learning. You know,
you need to have that, the wallpaper paste in the back of your car. Right?
Shout out the Gloop Troop.
Shout out Gloop Troop every time. And you just jump out the car on the motorway, hard shoulder, whatever, and just right up on the sign where it says Cambridge.
Yeah.
It's like 20 miles, you know, 50 miles, whatever.
Keep going.
Organics. And people used to come and say, "Oh, I've seen your poster up as far as," you know what I mean? Like Nottingham and blah, blah, this and that.
Saying that, so I miss the peak, but I was in Leicester at that time, and someone said to me, "You're from Cambridge, aren't you? Do you know about this Rawganics stuff?" I was like, how did the flyer get to Leicester?
Oh, in Leicester. Wow.
Yeah.
I went to Cornwall. I went to Cornwall with the band. Right? I was down there with the band in Cornwall. This was a mad one, yeah? And I'm just in this random record shop. We were putting our records in there, you know, doing a sale or return with the guy. And I'm saying, when I get back, hopefully in 6 months, it's Cornwall. I never got bloody back there again, yeah? One of them ones. But hopefully I get back in 6 months, we'll do the money. I'm going through their clothing, yeah, on their rack. I started pulling out Rawganics t-shirts. One with that on it.
Yeah.
Actually had that one in it. You know what I mean? In this t-shirt.
Yeah. So for this, now we've actually got some of the original posters in the building, pinned up in the studio today.
We can get enough pins to get.
Yeah.
We brought a load, but
amazing. And Shiggz, you know, we were speaking again about the design of these as well. A lot of thought put into each and every one.
Design was, I think, a massive part about Rawganics. And you talk about different creatives, and I've got to shout out our main designer, Yok. Yok was one of the clothes designers and the graphics designers at Supremebeing clothes. But again, he was part of the Dirty Stop Out, so mad hip hop head, and just an incredibly talented, creative person,
and they're amazing
designer.
Yeah.
And he put his stamp absolutely onto it, and I think, you know, part of what Rawganics was it had the look, it had that authentic look, original, creative. It was related to hip hop, but it wasn't necessarily a kind of cliched
exactly.
Too obvious.
You always had those elements in them, so you can see.
We never done them big dogs and cars on the front of the flyer.
Westwood style.
Well, like that.
No.
Wait, saying that though, I bought you guys a couple packs of some history.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
Like,
Look,
not every show we did.
history right here.
There's a few missing, yeah.
Wow.
So it's not everyone we did, but I give you an idea for the designs. And
So for those listeting, I mean,
and you can keep them, yeah.
Original flyers from 2001 onwards.
That's part of my retirement.
Incredible.
Fund there,
Guys, let's hear us with some music. You mentioned Mud Family, and we've got a tune here by Skinny Man, Skits, Rodney P, among others, Twilight of the Gods, and we'll hear more from Loftie and Shiggz in a bit. Keep it locked, Cambridge 105.
Oh yes, Cambridge Hip Hop Show 105, live and direct here to Select. We are still here with Rawganics, and as before the music started playing, we were just giving like some past like flyers and little cards of their post shows, and I must say there's just so many big names on there, so many. But I want to take it back to the first show. So where was it and how did it come across? Like, how much planning did you have to put into it?
So the first show, which probably every single one of those 19 Dirty Stop Outs could tell you, the date, 16th of August 2001.
It stays with you.
So, you know, middle of the summer, not supposed to be a good time to do a big dance, but the timing was right, like we said, and we give it a run. I think a promotion, probably we had a good run 2 or 3 months at it, didn't we?
Yeah, I'd say 8 weeks.
Yeah, probably about 8 weeks going at the promotion. The lineup, originally it was planned to be For Life Cypher from Luton. Big up them boys, DJ Napper, Cy Philly, and Life MC. They were supposed to be headlining, co-headline with Task Force, and then Delegates of Culture, shout out to Delegates, and Flairdy Cats. They were our resident DJs. Now Flairdy Cats was
big up Kong, big up Woos.
Yeah, big up DJ Enema, not forgetting DJ Enema. And Flairdy Cats were a funny crew. They were on Six Decks, a live team DJ. So they were going in for team competitions. They ended up winning the 2002 UK DMC team championships. So they were rocking the decks, like with Six Decks live in the building. building like the whole time, all the way between each set. We were running quick sets, so kind of half an hour set and then half an hour DJ set. And yeah, For Life actually couldn't make it that one, so they were actually running with Gorillaz at the time. For Life were actually the original MCs who were going to be on the Gorillaz tunes. Ended up not happening for them for one reason or another.
MCD and a few other people, didn't it?
Yeah, but they were called out to go on world tour with them in Japan, so we kind of let them go do their thing.
They're allowed.
Real Noodles in Japan or Rawganics in Cambridge.
Yeah, and you know, we muddled through, but the show was like it wasn't rammed out. I mean, the Junction can hold 1,300 people back then when it was full with the 3 rooms. We did 800 on our first night.
Wow,
That's
still,
you know what I mean? And all the acts just smashed it. And one act that I've got to shout out for that night especially is Killer Keller.
Big up Killer Keller. You held that night down for us.
Killer Keller is an incredible beatboxer, right? Yeah. And he's got his podcast now as well, which he does all his street culture TV. Check out his
check that out online. That's good shit.
His podcast. Yeah. Kellervision podcast is heavy, and he interviews a load of the greats from over this. But he was, I mean, Keller must have been about 17, 18 back then.
Oh, wow.
He was young, I remember.
Yeah.
And he just absolutely tore it out. You know, a cappella beatbox, just smashing it, just like remixing tunes, like tunes that you know of from, you know, big hip hop tunes. He was just coming out and the crowd were just going nuts for him. They made him come back on about 3 different times that night.
It was amazing.
And yeah, it was a sensational, it was a memorable night. You know, to the point where they had to chuck us out of the building. Like all the lights were on, everybody was still in there, refusing to move.
We got that big photo, haven't we? Right at the end of everyone on the stage.
Exactly. Full crew and crowd stormed the stage, just raving to Witness to Fitness, Rich Maneuver.
Big up to Mike as well, Keller's engineer on the night on that TLA compressor. You done a good job, bruv. See, I'll never forget that. He was amazing.
How was the day after? How did it feel the day after?
Well, the night just ran into the day. You know, it's like after a night like that, you don't sleep.
That's
You're
it.
just
Yeah,
so buzzing. Like,
man.
It's just like, and there was, I can't remember if there was even. I think the after party was just someone's yard, right? So it wasn't like we didn't have a proper after party. So it was just like, what are we gonna do? And yeah, just usually after Rawganics, you used to end up down around these ends here, around Mill Road. Someone's house became the after party. There's some legendary, like till early in the morning after parties.
There's nothing more hip hop than that, surely.
Yeah, man.
That sounds amazing.
There's some good one. Big up Luke Gillow.
What was the importance? What was the importance of mixing it up at those events in terms of an MC and then a solid section for a DJ as well? What did that do for your demographic that was in the building?
That's fundamental to us anyway, because that's cultural. I think that's what's missing nowadays. When I go out in venues now, I just see that DJs aren't given the creds they should be given, you know, from our
And shout out to you lot for that, by the way, right?
For holding
so
it
you
up.
guys,
mix that squad,
focusing
you're
on the DJ thing, right? All present company here, and that's really important. Exactly like you're saying. You know, that's what the dance is based on, and that's like a big part, obviously, of the early hip hop culture. You know, DJ was the thing. DJ was to the fore.
You couldn't MC without your DJ.
No, of course.
So like it was like you ain't nothing without the DJ.
Yeah.
So when I go to venues now and then like an MC turns up and you're like, so like, have you got your DJ with you? It's like, no, I got my USB stick. Well, where's your DJ? Who's going to press your buttons? Well, I was hoping you was going to press the button.
Yes.
It's like, what?
Well, I know.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Get cultural. Like,
I mean, people
link
forget,
up. You know
don't
what I mean?
they?
Like,
that the DJ was arguably the first
it's
element.
the fundamental of
The
it.
first element.
It's the foundation, you know.
Yeah.
So it gets forgotten so much. So yeah, for us, it was really important, wasn't it, to have.
We had a lot of big DJs and crowd rocking DJs. That's what we tried to make it about.
Big up Scully saying that.
Definitely.
DJ Scully.
DJ Scully, Shorty Blitz, DJ MK, who else? DJ Woody. Like so
Plus
many.
One.
The list. DJ Plus1, load of the Scratch Perverts would be down there. Harry Love would have been down there. Like, just enough people.
Great name stepper, huh?
Yeah.
It's a great name.
Yeah. Do you know what I love as well? You know,
We're kids.
there's such a huge range of artists that you've had over the years from the US and the UK, which we'll get right into. Q-Bert just being one of those, you know, on that subject. I love the fact that you managed to get him down. I mean, he's arguably one of my favourites.
It was insane. It was an insane set.
Yeah. What a guy.
The mad bit was when he just most of the set actually just played everything off of a mini disc player and just scratched the hell out of one turntable for literally like 45 minutes non-stop.
Wow.
The stuff he did was incredible. Tell the story you were telling me earlier as well about, you talk about like artist riders and what you used to have to do for people, like hotels you had to get them or whatever, like requests they used to put in.
Let's talk about that.
You were asking about that, and we were talking about corporate sponsorship and all the kind of roles we do and stuff like that. One of them that was for me was corporate sponsorship, contacting companies and getting bits and bobs in. Well, one of Q-Bert's like rider requests was my hotel room must have 2 Vestax, whatever the model was of the turntables, and a Vestax 05 mixer, some other thing in an effects unit or something else, and X amount, whatever. So I had to get all the Vestax and actually physically get these things delivered to. You can imagine when I'm calling up Vestax, I'm like, so look, you need to take these to the door. Who the hell are you?
Well, I've got one of the best turntablists in the world with me, so if you could sort that out, that'd be great.
Yeah, once they got it confirmed and we had to send them copies of flyers and all this sort of stuff,
Oh, wow,
they were like, all right, give us the hotel details, we'll sort it all out. But
amazing.
But that's
mad times, man.
That is a reflection of how quick it started happening and how big it started going, because that was only in 2002, July 2002, that Q-Bert show. And the other thing you asked about, like, what did you do after the show? Well, after that show, we stayed up till 5 a.m. We flew to Switzerland the next day, and we DJ'd at the World Skateboarding, the Grand Prix of skateboarding. So
with
half the crew
people like
went
Bam
there.
Magera, you know, those big top skateboarders that you see on like Jackass and all them kind of things.
Yeah. Insane.
And big up AD Maddox for the link on that one. He was one of our videographers, and he'd give us the link in there. So he was linked into like the skateboard crew and the snowboarding scene and stuff like that. So half the crew flew out to like some snowboarding event up in the Alps, and delegates and all them were just DJing and playing live sets over there.
Wow.
And me, Loftie, and big up DJ
Manslaughter.
We were like in the main arena with 20,000 people DJing at the skateboard event.
Yeah.
Getting told to turn the music down and don't turn like Ghostface and Non-Fiction up so loud. We're trying to hear who the skateboarders are.
Yeah, they were broadcasting on TV, wasn't it? And we were just like blasting this like music in the back, like just curse words all over it.
Killed it.
Now, 19 strong in the Dirty Stop Out crew. Now, Ed and I have said in the past that actually it's better to keep that number smaller, but obviously you guys are doing something right with 19 strong.
Can we shout out 19?
Please do.
Yes,
if you can. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Right. Shouts out to Dave Newman.
Shouts out to Yok,
Shouts out to Charlie Brocker,
Luke Gillow,
Ben Redeye,
Bob,
Axel,
Mozza,
B109,
Jenny,
S-Class,
Scuff,
Inja,
Tome,
Chris Groove,
Jim Bad,
Manslaughter,
AD Maddox,
and Ricky Ricardo, aka Optics. Big up you lot. Enough love for the SOs.
Wow.
Die.
And you know what?
I hope that's all of them.
The fact that you've remembered that, it just shows that Rawganics has really stood the test of time. I actually just want to play you a little bit of audio. That's from 2 of our previous guests, shout out Slang Immaculate and who came through very early on during the Hip Hop show. Yeah. And straight away they had something to say about Rawganics. So let's just listen to that, shall we?
Probably still the most legendary hip hop night in the country, Rawganics, was Cambridge and the Junction. Big shout Loftie Shiggz, and then big shout Delegates of Culture. Yeah, I got songs with Scuff. Got a couple songs with Dyke. Big shout Dyke, because as a city we're all super proud of him.
I mean, it started like Rawganics was a big part of the Cambridge and I suppose the UK hip hop scene initially. That got put on, I don't know how long ago it was, but it was a while
15 years ago.
But they like headlined people like Ghostface and Clash and stuff like that. So it was a big thing.
Yeah.
Chester P done his it was like a battle thing there as well. So
right.
a lot of people came up through there.
So, you know, just as an example, even there with artists that in and around Cambridge that are still doing bits to this day, you've still left that legacy, man. So, you know, hats off to you guys.
Well, shouts out to them too, though. They, you know, you got to understand them 2 boys are family to us, and they've been coming to Rawganics, not after parties, but parties that we held at houses that were just, you know, house friendly and kid friendly house parties, you know, with hip hop in it. And them boys have been there, I mean, since this high, yeah? We even got photos of like on a set of turntables, at that kind of height, you know what I mean? Like, you know, we were putting him on then, you know what I mean? So, you know, they've been a part of that, same as Marcus has as well with us, you know what I mean? These are some of the guys that we regard as our family in here, you know what I mean? So,
but shout out to every one of those 19, 20 that we mentioned, you know what I mean?
Nothing but love.
Stopouts, because you asking right at the start about, you know, how did it come together and how, you know, what's the blueprint? Well, look, one thing about Rawganics was nobody made a penny out of Rawganics. Everybody put in their time for free. volunteers to a non-profit charity-based organisation. Any money we even took from the promotion, we would take a small fee for putting on the promotion out of the ticket money, and we would put that straight back in to the production.
To the Cancer Backup Fund as well,
or to the Cancer Backup Fund.
Yeah.
But if we put it into the production, we were spending money on good-looking stage set,
better graphics,
video, etc., etc. So we were always reinvesting.
Hiring better video
and
cameras
I can't thank every one of those 19 enough, for the amount of effort and love that they put in for that, because it's nothing without any one of them. And you could get any one of them up here now and they would tell you their stories and how they saw it. We're just telling it from our perspective.
Yeah, we're just two at our end, exactly that.
And everybody, and it was, the other thing is about the numbers, was it bigger or smaller? 19, right? The classic cliche about come to my party, tell a friend to tell a friend. So you've got 19 friends who are telling 19 other friends who are telling 19 other friends.
It's a good little tactic, that. More the merrier.
Yeah.
Well, Loftie and Shiggz, I mean, I think we should drop a tune, so it's always about the music as well. You did mention Task Force there, and I look forward to actually speaking a bit more about things besides the rapping and all the other extra elements that were involved there as well. Keep it locked, Cambridge 105.
Yes, hip hop show. We're here.
Yes, hip hop
with
105.
Sean and Loftie. Right. So you guys mentioned Lucy and Gillow.
Yeah.
So let's go back to Rawganics days. What were some of the elements that you had to incorporate to make it? We've talked about the DJ and how fundamental that was. What were some of the other elements that you had to bring in, that just to kind of solidify the hip hop element of
Well, the
it?
graph had to be there for a start. You know what I mean? So part of our things was our graphics and our graph and stuff like that, having that up on our walls, wasn't it? So
we sometimes have painting live in there.
Live painting in there,
or at least during the day, and let it dry, and then
outside. That's what
ready for the night.
Yeah, and then hang it up there, straight away
hang
on
up
the night.
big boards,
But yeah, so that was a fundamental element to us. We couldn't do it every time, provide like space for breaking and stuff, but it still used to go off in there. Yeah. But there were certain nights that we put on that were, especially the Cambridge night event. I think that flyer might be in there, but
January.
We put down at one point on the floor like a massive cardboard tape down and all that for them lot to spin off, and that was their zone. You know what I mean? And they had that there for a good hour and a bit. You know what I mean? Of the show. So.
And that was Sin Crew. That was Sin Crew, Junior Sin Stars as well. Yeah. So we would have given them a good hour, funk and soul DJs coming in, spin their sort of faster dancing type breaks for them and that. And I've got some footage of that somewhere. I have to dig that out and
please do
get that to Lucy and to Gillow as well, because what they've done in the town for hip hop is absolutely foundational and fundamental, and again through nothing but hard work, love, volunteering and love of the culture.
And what Lucy continues to do now.
Yeah, she's still doing it.
She's represented that right away through from the 90, man. She's everywhere.
I think I need to connect with her.
You definitely need to connect with her.
And you also mentioned clothing as well, didn't you?
Well, clothing was Supremebeing. That's where they came in.
Yeah.
And without Dave Newman and the rest of the crew up there,
shout out Mozza, Jim Bad, Scuff, and Dave.
We would not have had the looks that we had, you know what I mean? And we did look good, you know what I mean? When we went out, we all had our matching T-shirts with the DSOs written on the back and all that. And
correct me if I'm wrong, Loftie. You used to do a bit of breaking as well?
I was an old breaker, you wouldn't catch me do it at Rawganics so much because, it's a bit past my years then, you know what I mean? But I can still 1 foot it if I need to, you know?
I think I saw an image of you when you were much younger, sort of mid top rock, I think.
Oh, you see that one on Instagram? That was my early years. I
love that, man.
I think I was 10 years old in that photo.
Right.
But my cousin at about age 9, well, I was age 9, he was probably about age 12. He joined the Hastings Breakers. I'm from Hastings Town, originally down on the South Coast. Came up here in 93. But basically he joined the Hastings Breakers, had kind of introduced me to kind of electro music and all that kind of stuff. And then I got involved just breaking and learning breaking through him, and then eventually got taken in by the junior Hastings Break Squad, that kind of thing. So that's what that photo's from, and that's kind of where my history started with this, I guess, about age 9 kind of thing.
There you go.
First raps, talking about how big it was, and it weren't. It was the 80s, man. It's what we all did, you know what I mean? Hands up. You know what I mean?
Now, Shiggz, when we spoke, you mentioned that this became a monthly thing. So we've spoken about the very first event. It was a great success. How, obviously, 19 strong, I think this partly answers the question, but what did it take for that to be kept up as a regular monthly thing? I mean, we're doing something now that's every 4 months, and even finding that a task. You know, so what was it like for you guys to keep the frequency that regular?
Boy, I mean, again, it's just kind of like a special sauce that kind of came together somehow. I think it's. I mean, the second one we got really lucky on, actually, to be honest, because at the time, so we talked about how the big tune of that first rave was Roots Maneuver, Witness to Fitness.
Yeah.
And that had just been released. It had got a full proper major label release, or an independent offshoot of a major label. So you were hearing that tune on Radio 1. You know, you were hearing that tune starting to go around, and Maneuver's making a quite a buzz at a national level.
Yeah, NME were all over him, weren't they?
Junction
we
booked him the month after we did the first Rawganics on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
And basically, we just went to Junction and said, that's a Rawganics night.
Pop our stamp on it.
We're putting the show on.
Yeah.
And everyone was
that's
like,
our show now.
What do you mean? And their management was a bit like, what are you talking about? And anyway, round the venue, Rawganics.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
It's hip hop is in Cambridge, right?
So we got all the DJs together, support acts for it as well, and yeah, the show was incredible. Like that was the first time when he was coming out with like
it's crazy.
String
That
quartet,
the string quartet there.
like,
Man.
just Ricky Rankin, his MC, who's a brilliant artist, a brilliant performer. So we got lucky with that one. That kept it the next month building, and then that's just when we started to realise, well, look, we've got these contacts. You know, we all had a lot of contacts in the UK scene, and we knew that there were people who were good enough to put on, basically. Who would start to. I mean, so if we could get people to come for Task Force, then we could get people to come for Roots Maneuver. Then the month after, we could get them to come for Five Life Cypher. We could get them to come for Out the Ville.
So it was just like a rolling sort of like the hype just continually builds exponentially, I suppose. Yeah. From the previous one.
And when you're doing it, you kind of do just bounce from the next show to the next.
Yeah.
You ain't got time to think.
That's right.
You ain't got time to consider what you're saying. Oh, how are we going to do next? The next show's coming. They're giving you the dates already. Get on it.
Get it done.
Yeah, you know. So it was like that. We'd have to be ahead of it.
And I've got to shout out the Junction as well, because
big up Rob Tinkler.
Absolutely big up Rob Tinkler, who is the bookings agent at Junction, who really helped us. Do you know what I mean? To put the thing on, to back it, you know, financially, to put up a little bit of money that we could pay back to then get started, and it just became a party to go to. You know, that was part. You know, going back to the thing about the DJs, like we didn't want it to be at the time that sort of classic cliched hip hop show of a load of blokes standing around the back wall, moody facing it, shitting each other out. You know, we wanted it to be where you came and you partied and you danced. So you know, that's why it was DJ led, and it became a party to go to. And then that's almost as important in your town as, you know, who the acts are. Probably half the people are there because they're crazy hip hop heads and they want to see that act and they're going to push themselves right to the front to see their hero.
Yeah.
Other people are like, it's a Thursday night rave till 2 a.m. You know, it was over 16s as well. So you know, we could get some of the younger crowd in there as well. That wasn't always popular when we started, and a lot of the older crew were saying to us, "What are you letting all these 16-year-olds in for?" And it's just like, it's hip hop. It's about the youth. You
Absolutely.
know? And we were putting on these freestyle competitions and these DJ competitions in the Jam as well, which was encouraging the youth to come up. So we talk about, you know, Slang was shouting out Dyke and some of the other people in the Cambridge music scene. SMB, they were a big part of basically the crowd, the Rawganics, the Dirty Stop Out extended family, and the first ever time. MC Key, Mr. Key.
Oh, Mr. Key,
from
man.
SMB.
Lukey. Big up Lukey.
First time he ever came from Contact Play. First time he ever hit a stage was at Rawganics.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
You know, at the first ever freestyle competition that we held. And he was 16 years old. He'd never rapped in front of a crowd.
Wow.
And he came down and obviously had a lot of love in the room for, you know, all his boys around him, all his people around him. And, you know, he's gone on to have a career on High Focus.
There you go.
And,
amazing.
You know, and their crew's gone on to bigger and better things. Do you know what I mean? Look at Dyke now running his own label.
Yeah, of course.
I mean?
Shout out Dyke. Absolutely.
So, you know, they weren't directly involved, but they were directly involved, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's
amazing. I can't wait to learn even more. Speaking of the youth, I think we should get Stepper's take on this very soon as well. You mentioned Roots Maneuver there. Should we do it?
Let's do it. Bang it. Go on, bang it.
Yes, Hip Hop Show 105. We are locked in with Loftie and Shiggz, two legends, local legends behind Rawganics. That was this iconic, iconic event from the early 2000s. Now we've got Stepper in the building as well. You've been a little bit quiet this session, Stepper. I think there's a lot of voices in the room tonight, which is fair enough.
It's not just that, mate. It's just
you're just blown away, are you?
I'm just like listening. You know what I mean? It's just like it's like a kid hearing his favourite stories. It's just like yeah. You know, it's like you just want to hear more, innit?
So I feel like you'd have been a bit too young to have attended.
Yeah, no, I was.
Even though it was 16 plus. But what are you making of all this? Just as we reflect and reminisce on these days. And you're an old school head at heart, anyway.
Yeah.
In a young body.
Yeah.
What, are you learning?
Mate, honestly.
Are you taking notes for how we can move forward?
Yeah, I am. Well, it's just that. There's so many similarities as well that it has, like today. Well, it was today's organisation and showbiz wise and stuff. And like you said, there's so many crews as well that were involved in the shows and stuff. Like that. We had the Scallywags, and now we also got my crew, the Savage Streets, of the Curb Stop events, and then of course Beats and Rhymes. So that's 3 in the making already, and there's probably some more in the making that we just don't even know about yet. So but it's just refreshing, just hearing it from the stories from back then and trying to compare it to now. It's nice.
Yeah. Do you think that we can recreate what Rawganics was back then?
I mean, we kind of have to now, mate. We were told the instructions to our faces, but we're not to. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I also want to ask. I want to ask you, Stepper, and obviously with Shiggz and Loftie as well. On a personal note, you obviously know these guys sort of more than the music as well. So what's the link there?
So my daddy used to hang out with them. Big up Dazza T.
Yes.
Dazza Tasmania.
Tasmania.
Okay, down. Big Daz Agent A. Yes.
Shout out to Esther.
So
Big up Esther.
Mrs. E. Little E. But. Yeah, so they were always around my house and stuff when I was younger and all that. And unfortunately, I didn't know what hip hop was back in the day. So
when I come round to see you, you was always like making beats or trying to get into your
that is true.
And you were doing.
No, you were, to be fair. Do you remember? What was that little app that you showed me? Actually, there was like that little cartoon game of like DJing and stuff. Oh, you know exactly what I'm on about, don't you?
Turntables.de.
That's it. Yeah, no, that was it. Yeah, no, literally, you were like, oh yeah, Mark, this is proper like Daniel Street, and I remember being like, yeah. And I was like the coolest kid in primary school because I knew that website, and I was just blasting that proper stuff, mate. Honestly, that was
wicked. That little scratches on it. And everything.
Yeah, that's the man. Yeah,
site,
amazing. Yeah, but it's good to see you guys connect, and obviously to have Ed in the building here as well.
Wait,
as I say,
before we move off of Marcus there in his history.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please do.
I told you I was going through the archives.
Yeah.
And I dug out quite a lot of stuff. To be fair, most of it I've given out already, but this one I kind of wanted to give to you because I know like these guys know you.
Yeah.
They don't know how deep you go back in this. They're finding out. How old are you now?
I'm 23, mate.
You're 23.
Yeah.
So this would have been probably like when you was about 8.
No.
What's he got?
Let's see this.
What this does, it shows people your history, right? And how deep you go back with sound systems and stuff like that.
Come on.
So check that out, right?
Oh my God, that was your birthday!
It's my 40th birthday.
So can you describe for the listener what we seeing? What we seeing?
There is you're looking at Marcus with Zebby Brown.
Wow.
Who's just 2K sound system.
Yes.
Right? And he's getting a lesson in how you hoof the bass up.
Man. Young Stepper.
That's a little piece of your history. That's a piece of your history.
I love that. Right here on Hip Hop Show.
Mate. Massive love.
Man, I can see the tears coming out now.
I love that link. I love
That's a
that.
12-year-old Marcus.
Yeah.
Working it out to turn
Back
the
when
bass
Peppers
up,
was a
man.
cherry tomato. Look at him.
Oh, it was destined, wasn't it? It was ingrained in you from such a young age.
Yeah,
Amazing.
no, that makes a lot of sense now.
That's exactly what I'm trying to show
That's
you.
in
mate.
the
You've been
Dublin
doing this
suite
for a
at
long
Cambridge
time.
United. Look, you
Yes,
can
it
see
was.
Dion on the wall there in the picture.
Yeah, mate. Loftie's birthday, man. Oh.
Yeah, man, we had a good night that night. Oh my God, I found a photo of you and me actually, like where I was drunk as a fart. Yeah, I got you in this hold, but like I just looked so mashed up. I was like, I can't print that one.
Amazing.
But I'll give it to you on a private.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's for the personal archives. I love. Oh, man.
Guys, there is so much energy in the building. We're going to have to finish it off for this week. However, actually, physically, we are going to stay in the building, and listeners can keep listening to our conversation because we're going to keep another hour going next week. So, listeners, do tune in next week to hear the rest of this conversation that we're going to have now, if that makes any sense at all. And let's drop a bit of Fire Life Cypher, shall we? Just to ease it out. And tune in next week for the rest of our amazing conversation with the Rawganics lads, Loftie and Shiggz. Hip Hop Show. Oh yes, Hip Hop Show 105. We are back and we are still locked in with DJ Special Ed. How we feeling?
Feeling good. So much to talk about still, so let's go.
Yeah, Fence Deb, how we feeling?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
All good. We are still locked in with the Rawganics legends, Loftie and Shiggz. Come on. So for the listener that wasn't lucky enough to catch our session, we've extended it to 2 hours because there is just so much to talk about. So Rawganics, it was an event, it was a hip-hop event in the early 2000s that ran for roughly 5 years, and we're just learning so much and we want to continue learning, so we are still here, we're still locked in. Now, Loftie, if people were to walk into the Junction on a Rawganics event, what could they expect?
Yeah, that's the question. You can expect hip hop straight in your face. That's how it is. We've got multiple digital screens up showing you like the DJs and the MCs performing. We've got 4 turntables laid out across the stage. You've got multiple acts coming on, very short spaces of time, so it's constant entertainment. It don't stop. And between those acts, massive DJs. So you can expect UK's premier hip hop night, as it was voted. Hip Hop Connections, if I remember rightly, yeah?
Something like that, yeah. I think so.
Need we say more?
Amazing.
Excellent.
In a nutshell, really.
Yeah. That's it. So, you blessed us with so many flyers, and there was one particular flyer that just stood out for me. The date on there is the 28th of April, 2003.
Yeah.
What was so special about this flyer?
Well, we were just talking about that off air, and it was a bit of a rushed put together flyer, hence it doesn't have the normal graphics on it and looked like one of our posters. A friend of ours, bless her heart, rest in peace, Joe Chevley, love you to pieces, Joe Bug. She was very ill at that point in time. We needed to raise some money for her treatment, and we just went all out with the event as quick as we could. I think the flyer says it was a Monday night, which was unusual for us because Monday, we'd usually do the Thursday thing, but we were in such a rush to put the event on and try and raise the money for our support that we just had to go all in, grab all the acts we could, get the flyer done as quick as possible and get that out there and make the event happen. As we were just saying, that night, one night on a Monday night, we raised 13 grand for some towards her support and some towards the cancer backup fund. That's kind of how it went. As we were both saying there, 6 grand in the pot on the night from handing the buckets around the venue. The rest came in via checks and after payments, and it worked out 13 grand in the end. So big up to everyone out there. You know who you are that were there on that night, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you for coming and all that. I'm not even going to get emotional.
It really was.
Thank you.
It really was an incredible night, and all of the artists gave their time for free, offered favours to us. Got to big up Task Force, Chester P, Farmer G. Got to big up Mongo, Mud Family. All the artists that performed there for free. DJ Scully, all of these people, and the generosity of Cambridge and the Rawganics family was just like, you can hear it in our voices. It's touching us today, and that's 20 plus years later.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was in April 2003. Joe sadly passed in September 2003. We'd used some of the money for what we'd hoped to be life-saving treatment for her. Unfortunately, she had to go into end-of-life care at the Arthur Rank Hospice here in Cambridge, and so we ended up donating the balance of the money to Arthur Rank in her memory some months after she passed. And God love her, Joe Bug. We know that you shine over us to this day, and you shone through Rawganics. A massive part of all of our stories. And it was a time when not just us, not just personally we got touched with cancer, but other people in the crew, other family members, other people in the audience, people started getting touched by cancer, and as Loftie said, we just decided that there and then. We'd never made a penny to Rawganics to that day. As I said, everything
weren't making money.
Everything was reinvested in the show. But actually, we decided, well, we're actually going to start a fundraising organisation around this. So we formed the Rawganics Cancer Backup Fund.
There you go.
And we would do other events outside of the Junction.
Amazing.
Including a Jubilee Jam in the park that we did on also celebrating Loftie's birthday. Back in one of the early
They done me up.
Jubilees. That's another story in itself. A Romsey wreck.
Amazing though that you could take that format and it's still, you're still doing music, but you're able to distribute that money to something that's important,
and
absolutely
what was the actual date on that flyer, Ed, as well?
Monday, 28th of April, 2003.
Yeah, like on Monday night,
2003, yeah.
2003.
So you got to see, by that point, we were a year and a half into Rawganics.
Yes,
we started it in 2001 in August.
yeah.
the fact that you're able to do that just 2 years in,
And and like I said, we ran for 5 years. So from that point there, that was when it became a non-profit based organisation raising money for cancer support.
Amazing.
So, for the next 3.5 years from then, that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
So there weren't profits going in his pocket, my pocket, or any of the crew. It was just into the fund and just put where we could to offer cancer support. You know, like Shiggz was saying, it was touching our families. My sister at exactly the same time as this happened was 14 years old and had cancer in her spine.
I know Inja had family members the same ways who were touched by that. And I know other people, extended Dirty Stop Out's family also touched by it. And like these horrible diseases touched us all, and in some ways they're a way to unify us as well. And the power of music, seeing what you lads are doing now, do you know what I mean, and how you're organising people and bringing together people around music, it's more important now than it's ever been, do you know what I mean? And it was important back then 20 years ago, but you can make a difference with this stuff as well.
Absolutely.
And like Shiggz said before, the parallels between like now and then, as in like what you guys are doing and how you're doing stuff, it's ripe.
Yeah,
you're ripe.
Yeah,
you need to pick and go.
Yeah,
it's time to.
That's the plan. That's why we're all here. Now, still looking at that flyer, just to take it off that subject a bit, but love that tribute there as well. There's some other genres mentioned. Now, I think we have to bring up the fact that it wasn't just purely hip hop. We are actually representing for some other genres, perhaps in other rooms and things as well.
Man. Yeah.
Can you talk through some of what that setup was?
Yeah, and I think that's a big sort of characteristic, if you like, of Rawganics was, we used to, it was a rave, right? It was a dance. It was a club night. It was a party, and Cambridge is got a deep history that goes way back before Rawganics, right? To the early rave scene was big in Cambridge, like the free party scene in like the late 80s and the early 90s. And that's always been the free party scene, and the sound system scene has always been a factor in Cambridge. And as you say, as far as Rawganics, it was obviously a very hip hop, centric thing. We were trying to represent UK hip hop and all of the elements of hip hop within that show. But we were also about sound system culture and dance culture, and we were putting that on in other rooms. So reggae was a big part of it, and we've got to shout out, our two main reggae crews that we were working with there. Cambridge Revelation, which was the predecessor to what is now Apex Hi-Fi.
There you go.
Big up Smokey, Roddy,
Silverman,
the rest of the crew.
Yeah, and R.I.P. Barry. Yeah, big up Barrington.
R.I.P. Barrington,
who we lost this year, man.
Fucking.
But also Visions 2K. Zebby Brown and Joe, and they were a massive part of it. And you were asking earlier about our early history of putting on smaller clubs, but what we've always made it about was how good the sound was as well. Whatever music you were playing, it had to be a proper, well mixed show. Do you know what I mean? So we were all about the sound systems, the sound man, getting the sound sounding crisp, and that's a really important part. And another thing where we're talking earlier, the DJ culture's maybe going out of it a little bit, and the sound system culture is certainly shrinking down. So massive respect to Apex Hi-Fi is still doing that. Still bringing their sound system and putting on parties. Often sometimes for free. Yeah, Jimmy Stepper as well.
Yeah,
so big
absolutely.
up all those people.
Well, there's a link here. I mean, Special Ed, you started with reggae dancehall back in the day.
Devonshire Arms.
Yes, hi.
Fen Stepper's a big reggae head as well, as am I. What did it take to get that perfect sound?
Well, big speakers, right, and big amps. and at the end of the day, a good ear, and a good engineer. Yeah. So good ears and good engineers. Yeah. Because people who know about sound, they always tell me, like, I don't know the ins and outs of sound system, but one sound man I remember that I used to trust, actually, we used to bring sound into the can bar there for the early days of the bridge. And like the can bar had nothing in there. It had a terrible sound system.
I still call it Route 66.
It was 66, that's it. It was Route 66.
Yeah. Terrible little 2 speakers up in the corner, no stage or nothing. To make a stage, we went to the back of Asda and got milk crates.
Yeah.
So we put on Rodney P, Roots Maneuver, Skinny Man, all these acts standing on milk crates in the corner of the Route 66 and the can bar. But what we did was we brought our own sound in, and that sound man there told me, you don't need to know too much about the ins and outs of it. What you need to have is a good ear.
Innit?
Yeah. So you can know when the set is mixed badly. And you know, hip hop over the years, especially live hip hop, has had a reputation of sometimes you get quite sloppy shows, especially some of the American acts coming over, you know, expensive tickets, no DJ, just
not
like
really thought out.
half an hour little show. You don't get
yeah.
your value for money. You can't really hear it. The mics are mixed badly, etc. We made sure it was none of that. So we were the scourge of you know, the in-house sound man at the Junction, and I apologise to many of them now.
Yeah, there's a few. There's a couple I ain't apologising to still. You know who you are.
Amazing. Well, let's keep learning more and more. We've got a whole track list here still that we haven't even really scratched the surface on, but you did mention Skinny Man there. I know that there's some links with him on a personal level as well, Shiggz. So let's drop that classic.
P, big up.
Councillor State of Mind hip hop show.
Yes, Cambridge Hip Hop Show 105, live and direct, represent, you know, with Fen Stepper and two of the biggest man them of Rawganics. I want to talk, so you talk about putting up loads of music and putting up loads of music events and stuff like all around Cambridgeshire, but was there anyone actually in the group making music?
I like that question.
Yeah, absolutely there was. There was probably 2 main crews involved in who were involved with Rawganics. So the first was Word Association. That's a crew that consisted of Loftie and 2 of his bandmates.
I'd say the first were delegates, to be fair. You know what I mean? That were involved in Rawganics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say the other was Delegates of Culture. So there was a link. We played some music from Task Force here earlier, and Task Force are a really interesting sort of glue, if you like, in the Rawganic sandwich, because it was like to mix my metaphors there just a little bit. But the reason is that I think I was talking to your affairs. So not only were delegates doing live shows and recording music, so they had EPs, albums out, you know, pressing their own vinyl, purely independent, own record label, doing their own live shows. But S-Class, the DJ and MC in Delegates Culture, Stack of Lyrics, you know him as now, was doing mixtapes called Bruck Faders.
The Bruck Fader.
Yeah, so Bruck Faders mixtape, and what was the other one? Head Cleaners. Yeah.
Head Cleaners
mixtapes.
Head Cleaners Volume 2 as well.
So I think Bruck Faders was his first one, then he did 2 volumes of Head Cleaners. And these were like freestyle mixtapes where playing UK beats and inviting artists to come to their studios and freestyle with them or drop new lyrics exclusive and stuff, and those were doing bits around the scene, right? So DJ Disorder was selling a lot of theirs on his Suspect Packages mailing list, and they were starting to get around. So they had linked Task Force over this, and they were getting Task Force, Roots Maneuver. Honestly, check those tapes. They've got some real exclusive, early exclusives on there.
Early Days Jest is on there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
this is them getting artists to travel to Cambridge, come to some, you know, studio in the back room, in the bedroom, wherever it was, drop the bars, get back on the train and go home. And some legendary freestyle ciphers were going on via those guys. And I knew Task Force from my history in London when I was talking earlier about Mudlums, Mud Family. Task Force came out of Berry Crew and Mud Family. So I've known Farmer and Chester since, I think I met them probably in about 95, 96 or something. So, and even when I came back to Cambridge, I would still be going down to North London to Highbury Flats to go and check them and just see, what's going on, what's the new music coming out, blah, 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 just shooting the SH1T. And so one time they're saying, you're back in Cambridge now? Oh, yeah, we know some guys up in Cambridge. Chess, it's them Delegates boys, isn't it? Yeah, Delegates of Culture. Do you know them? And I was like, no, I don't really know them yet. So I'll have to go and find out about them. So via him and various other people starting to move on, in the circles, I started to meet them. And then one time, Friday night, I was around their yard on the freestyle session, and Farmer and Chester walk in the door. And I'm just like, hold on a minute, this is crazy. And they're like, all right, Shiggz, what are you doing? And it's just, so it was just like those pieces of chance, those pieces of luck where...
It comes back to that organic thing, doesn't it? You're obviously kind of...
Absolutely.
In there and making these connections. It only kind of made sense that you would utilise their talents for an event like that. You started, I don't know what the timeline is here. I understand that you started the first couple of Rawganics with UK artists. How long did it take for you to develop that and start getting the big American names over?
It was about a third year, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, we were talking earlier. I mean, Qbert was 2002.
Yeah.
There you go, yeah.
Listen back to the last week's show.
Yeah, within a year, I guess we started, yeah.
But yeah, I suppose it was probably in, probably 2003, 2004, we started getting a larger sort of, rap acts. Pharomonch, yeah.
I mean, you're just throwing these names out there so casually, but for me, that is incredible. So, just to name a few, Pharomonch, Ice-T, Ghostface Killer, Qbert. I mean, is there any that I'm missing? I'm sure there's many more.
Yeah, non-fiction for sure. They were crazy.
Supernatural. You ever heard of the freestyler Supernatural? So that was actually a link via Joe Buddha, who's one of the Knots crew, and he was bringing Supernatural, who's an incredible freestyler, independent guy, but just like freestyle rhymes for days and days.
And the only one we forgot off the American list there, and I can't believe we forgot him, was Pete Rock.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Oh, somebody slapped me.
Yeah. Steppers out the door. Big producer over here in the corner.
Yeah, that was a mad night as well. It was great having him in the building, man. I'm not lying, it was
amazing.
Yeah.
Now, Shiggz, we were talking off air a couple of days ago. I'm sure you've got again some funny stories about some of these artists. Is there anything that you'd like to sort of touch upon, like just sort of getting them to the gig or hotels or just organisational logistical stuff?
They look at each other and I'm like, which one do we tell?
Which one's safe?
Which one can we tell? Yeah, paying their phone bills. That was one of them.
That was one of them, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was
a phone bill.
That was a bit of a classic. After, I mean, Ice-T, you can imagine, was a fairly hefty bill for the act, and you're talking about top 5-star hotels as well as the fee to actually put the gig on, and then you're talking about where's he going to park the tour bus and stuff like this, right? And this is like out of our comfort zone, right? So we're used to how much is your travel card and how much is your train ticket, and we'll cover that for you.
And you're talking mad stuff there. Where when we struck the deal on that, you remember the logistics of it was we had to get up because the price we got, like he was in Europe touring, right? And the deal was to get him over to the UK. If we wanted it, we had to try and find him other shows within the UK.
Okay,
and then we had to get the price we wanted, yeah. So other people would be paying X amount, we'd be paying a bit less G. You know what I mean? So it was like that as well. We had to hustle like that too to get out there and find other promoters that we knew in the UK, Sam, Deadbeat, all these kind of people, and we were hitting all these guys up as well, going, look, you got a chance to get this guy in, and trying to sell that to them too.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
So after all
we used to get things thrown at us like if you were bringing over an artist from Europe, they'd want you to arrange all the logistics. So from you're doing the plane flight in, you're doing the coach up, you're doing the coach back, the plane flight back, and sometimes you're hopping and skipping them across Europe as well. So it was a lot going on.
So it's so much more than Cambridge, really.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Not only
and
are you
that Ice-T show, bloody hell. Excuse me on the radio.
No, you can say it. Come on, I want to hear this.
The classic moment in the Ice-T show, right? So we got the reggae boys. We got the reggae boys upstairs, right? Ice-T's up on the set. He's just about to do 6 in the morning. Ooh. It's about to kick off. You know, it's going off in the menu. He suddenly grabs up the mic, brings it to the mouth, and what you hear is what la la la, what la la la. No. What's happened is the reggae mic upstairs, the radio mic's crossed over with his on the frequency, and they've started blasting out. We're in mass panic. He's going, what the hell's going on? Walking around like this at people, and him and that. He even stood behind him at one point with this on the back of his head. The rest of us are running around the building trying to work out what happened, because at first, although you can hear it's like music within the noise of the building, you couldn't
didn't
tell
get
it was
where it's
reggae
coming-
and where it was
yeah.
coming from. So it was like, what? And then when we clocked, it was like, shit!
Some cross wires going on.
Run upstairs.
Yeah.
Cut this
Radio
off,
mic
cut this off,
frequencies.
cut this off. And
Yeah.
they cut it off, and then we could start the show again downstairs.
Ice-T of all people as well.
Of all people for
So
that.
that's one of my favourite stories,
Yeah,
definitely,
it's
because
great.
I tell that as the day Ice-T threatened to kill me.
Because it was like that. And you got to imagine, like, there was we used to split the hosting, right? There was me, him, and Inja kind of really used to split up the hosting and introducing things.
Right. Shout Inja.
Me and Ninja kind of went disappearing at that point in time, yeah. Alright, Shiggz.
You're on your own.
And bless his heart, he went out there, he
Stood
went
him
out on
up.
the stage, right? He went out on the freaking stage and he takes the mic of Ice-T and he apologised to the crowd for technical difficulties and this, that,
Yeah.
with Ice-T standing behind him, like, so. So you just like, oh, God.
That was a funny
Oh,
one.
yeah, it was a
but
good-
there are loads of stories about trying to get US artists here, and Ill Bill out of non-fiction.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
A big guy, like £250 guy.
Right.
His thing was, make sure the king size bed is king size. So we were running around, and we were actually having to run around hotels
Measuring
beds.
Literally.
Wow.
You would be.
It's like all those things that we just wouldn't even really think of, you know, just all the small logistical,
And
technical
I'll tell
things.
you where he ended up in a guest house on Cherry Hinton Road. Big up the Sorrento guest house.
Oh, there
Yeah,
you go,
big up
there you
the
go.
Sorrento, yeah.
I cannot wait.
They had the biggest bed
I
for
don't think he
the
ordered,
the best
funnily enough.
bed for £1.
The other thing he ordered, funnily enough, wasn't on the rider, but it was heavily demanded on arrival. You got any shrooms? Got any shrooms? I need shrooms, man. You got shrooms? Come on, he don't want to step without shrooms.
Oh yeah.
Goodness me. Is it true that Ice-T wanted to have he requested a purple velvet sofa for his wife? Oh, that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard on
Yeah,
the
well,
grapevine.
definitely. I don't remember no purple velvet sofa,
Yeah.
but I do remember demands on the Alizé.
Right,
and
right.
the bucket chicken.
Okay.
It's insane. Like, you had to have X amount of buckets of chicken there. It was all part of the rider. And the
Jeez.
thing was, it had to be there at a certain time because it had to be warm for their
Yeah, for them
arrival.
to
It was
Wow.
all like that.
I thought we knew divas and egos in the,
Yeah, exactly.
in the game.
No, clearly we don't.
But no.
Clearly we don't.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So, like,
Picking up there.
I know this doesn't matter so much and stuff, but obviously this was a massive, expensive process. Just like trying to get all these US artists to come over here and also trying to fulfill their needs. But like, again, like I said, not that this matters, but was there like an income you guys were getting out of this as well, or was it all
That's
just
what
going?
we were saying. The whole thing was just charity.
That's
fundraising.
amazing.
You know what I
That's
mean?
absolutely amazing. You were sacrificing so much just to get these artists just to come to Cambridge and
We're music
smashed
heads, man.
it.
You know,
Honestly,
it's just music
For the love.
heads. You just want to do it for the music and the love, right? You know?
of course.
Yeah, and everybody was into it for the music and the love, and nobody made a pound. It cost everybody a pound one way or the other, because you know these logistics that you're trying to sort out. You got to get the artist from here to there at some point. You know, we were talking about Farrah Monch earlier. He wanted to go use the gym.
Yeah.
So we had to make sure that someone was there to drive him from 4 till 5 and drive him back to the venue for 6 for the sound check. So that's costing
That's
someone
so
petrol
funny.
money, right? Nobody's asking me the petrol money on that. They're just saying, yeah,
That's
I'm
out
going
your
to drive
pocket.
Farrah Monch to the gym. Wicked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people are just in it for the love, and yeah, nobody.
As it should be, yeah.
And that was the beautiful thing about it is that you know. Through all the major ups and through the downs, you know, nobody ever owed anybody any money. Do you know what I mean? And everybody was just doing it for the pure love, and you know, that's one of the reasons it was such a beautiful thing.
Amazing. I cannot wait to hear more of these iconic stories from such a great time. Let's keep it moving with Jest.
Yes, the hip hop show with myself, DJ Special Ed, and alongside Shiggz and Loftie. Now, you've just talked to us about what happened with Ice-T, so that leads on really well to my next question. Was there anything that happened unexpectedly, you know, that stands out from any of your shows other than the Ice-T incident?
Ice-T incident.
Unexpected.
Yeah, I think there was. Remember the Ghostface show?
What happened at that one?
So the Ghostface show.
I don't know, one thing's happened at that show.
Not during the Ghostface set, but earlier. I think it was during one of the DJ sets, just in the run up to the Ghostface show. In one of the support DJs, suddenly just the whole set went off. Like all turntables went off. All music went off. Mics, turntables, everything. And we just stood there like plums, like, what? This is the biggest show of our lives.
Only thing running was the mics.
That's right. Yeah, one mic was running.
The one mic was running. Yeah.
Who had that mic?
Well, what happened was we took the opportunity. Like I was telling you, like off air about a fella called Mad Prolific, my brethren there.
Yeah.
Very old school in this, and very talented as well, lyrically, beatbox wise. So
Big up P.
grabbed hold of that one mic, shouted out to P, and told him to get his ass up on that stage and come do that thing. Yeah. In fact, we did it. It was more than one mic running, because what we did was we got him on the beatbox, then we got Inja, and then the rest of all.
Well, that's
of us
right. Yeah, it just turned into a cipher, didn't it?
Yeah, and it just turned into a cipher on the stage. So there was, and it must have, what is it, 10 minutes, something like that? Must have been.
It was
5, something like that.
There's video footage of it, and so there's me having with the sweat beads on, trying to make the set work, running around screaming at people, whilst these boys are
the rest of us just entertaining the crowd,
freestyling it in front and just keeping the crowd entertained.
Wow.
And then like 10 minutes later, like he says, we managed to get the technicals sorted out and get the set up and running. But
it's no joke when you've got 900 people in the building and the whole thing's gone down. You're just like, we're in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, but fortunately, between a lot of us, there's a good batch of skills, and it really come through at that point in time. And I think that was a moment where we really saw like what we got in the team as well, because you know what you've got anyway, because you've been working with people for enough years. But it's in those critical moments when something like that happens, when the plug's pulled, and you're like, raw inspiration, boom, we're there.
Yeah.
We've been doing this in the bedroom from time, all of us, all around each other's yard. Like Shiggz was saying before, the Friday night flexercise thing that used to go on, like loads of us getting together, say either around the delegates or elsewhere, just spitting and stuff and doing freestyles. It's kind of how it was, you know what I mean? And so we were skilled enough to then just throw that into action in an emergency moment.
But this time you had 900 people watching, watching as well.
Yeah. Got a shout out, big up to Mad Prolific, the original Ninja, my bad boy, still out there, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
So, and big ups to Inja as well. I bumped into him last year, I think at Tesco's, and I was like, my God, the guy's still doing it. He still looks young though.
Good genes, eh?
I know. He's still looking young. I was
not mistaken, I think Inja was at Disconnect, I think. So, Disconnect, yeah. So he's still doing, but he's doing great, actually. Yeah,
man.
Amazing.
Still doing really well.
Yeah. Oh, we should have done it, I know. Now, since it came to an end, I think, was it 2005?
6 we ended, I think.
2006, yeah.
I think February, March.
We won't delve into that too much because we want to celebrate what it was at the time.
Bless you.
But have you ever tried to kind of re-establish it since that sort of time? Was there ever a moment where you thought, let's try and give this a go again? Let's try and build it up again.
Not really, I would say. I mean, there's a few times when you start to think about it, probably anniversaries, 10 years on, 20 years on, that kind of thing. And obviously that 20 years and 25-year things sort of become a bit of a thing in hip-hop, right? Especially touring albums or, like retro sort of, kind of look-back shows like that. But, yeah, we did and we didn't, but it was sort of... We just felt that it was of its time. It was what it was.
You need the team to do it. We
couldn't do it on our own.
We couldn't do it on our own. You know what I mean? You need the full team to do it and run it again, and it just, that worked.
What I will say, Loftie, is I think this was actually one of the first times I met you, is that I suppose it was kind of a throwback to what it was when Skinny Man came through last year. And you put on, some local artists. Shout out Jay Had a Dream.
That were nothing to do with me. That was to do with who put that one on?
Okay, I'm corrected. Go ahead.
No, I wasn't actually anything to do with.
No,
that
okay.
You were to do with getting Jay on.
Yeah, all we did was suggest some acts. To put on
fair enough.
Yeah, so we just put their names forward as young upcoming artists that we know of in Cambridge. That we look at and know are doing good stuff.
Yeah.
So we just want to support that in the same way. Who put on a Skinny show? I can't remember. Was that
I think it's Junction
through Skinny, I think.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Skinny was touring the Council Estate of Mind. That was a 20-year
of course.
The Council Estate of Mind.
Yeah.
So he was touring it anyway, and then we were going to go to the show, and on all of his socials, he was every town he went to, he was saying, and we're going to put this MC on from the town, and we're going to put that MC on from the town. So I was like straight on the phone to him.
Yeah,
I said, look, we've got acts here. I need to get these acts on, and he was like, tell me who,
exactly.
Give me the numbers.
Yeah.
And Skinny's always been good. Like he looks after acts up and down this country. You know what I mean? And he represents well, because wherever he arrives, he's just pulling in acts from that local area too, as well as bringing acts to them. You know what I mean?
Well, he shows us love online as well. So big shout out to Skinny Man.
Big shout out to Skinny Man.
Absolutely. 2006, guys. I mean, what have you been working on since? I see Shiggz. There's some radio stuff going on, bits and bobs. What has kind of taken over your lives since that time?
Well, I mean, just life, as a whole, family, work, stuff outside of work is, for me, is sport, football coaching. I do youth football coaching. Still, record collecting, big vinyl collector. As you mentioned there, the stream essentially what I got up and running, which is Root Down Radio.
Absolutely.
That was the name that I come up with for that, and that's basically a software project. So I'm into my IT and my software, and that's all self-built by myself with free software. I just decided, we need a stream. I need a stream. I need a channel. I need a mechanism to get the music out there. That I don't rely on anybody else.
Yeah.
And the idea of Root Down Radio really was that it was that you could broadcast from any, remotely. Somebody could do it in their yard and just connect to the stream, and that we could start to build it up, with different DJs doing it. Now, the reality of doing radio, as you guys well know, is it's a lot of hard work, right? A lot of preparation goes into every single show. So
Stepper's nodding like, yeah, it's a lot of hard work.
So it's more of a occasional thing for me. When I've got a set that I want to play, I'll put it out there. Or when I want to get my man here to come up and do a set, we'll do a Christmas set together. Or we've got big up Johnny Cabbage as well, who's one of my DJs. He's got a show on there as well, Eat Your Greens show. So we do it on an occasional basis. We get the people together. Either we'll be together just mixing and going back to back, or I'll get someone to record remotely and stuff like that. So we just figured, people need to own their channels, right? They need to own their own music. You're trying to do this streaming stuff on Facebook, they're either cutting it off or they want all the royalties for themselves. So the idea for us was, we're going to do our own stream. If it gets a certain amount of listeners, then we can count that, and then we can start getting the DJs to chip in for the PRS, for the the royalties. So we can make our little royalty payment as well. Again, that community idea that if you share the costs, you can own your own channel, you can own your own music, and we can promote independent music and independent artists. So we always shout out their Bandcamps, make sure people are buying physicals, digitals, direct from the artist, not streaming, not Spotify.
Absolutely.
None of that
stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Come on.
Still spinning records, Loftie?
Still spinning records, still writing lyrics, still making beats.
Come on.
I still do all the same shit I was doing from way back then.
As you should, sir, as you should.
Been in about 3 touring bands still then?
Yeah, been touring bands, doing stuff like that for a few years, doing that, putting a few tunes out, getting tunes in the UK dance charts and stuff like that. Tour DJing with the Dub Pistols and all that kind of stuff. So it's been it's a good few years, man, you know what I mean? But still the same old same, and beyond that nowadays I'm a granddad, what can I say? You know what I mean?
Shout outs to that.
Shouts out to little Teo. Big love, kid.
Congrats. I remember when I came back from Australia, at that time I bought the SL1 in Australia, and I went to Digital Village, and who do I bump into? This man here. And I got a good deal on SL4, which I've still got.
Bless you, sir. My pleasure. I was always serving the community.
No, always.
Yeah, man.
But I didn't know anyone in there, but the smile and I was, this is where I'm meant to be. And I was like,
community.
Appreciate the love. Thank you, man.
Still remember it.
Well, guys, I mean, we're almost out of time. We've got a huge list of artists and tunes that we've hardly touched upon. Is there anything that we should definitely pick out before we finalise the show tonight? What can not go amiss here? I mean, a whole list.
There is
mostly UK based, but let's throw one out.
Deck Record, MCD, that's a tune.
Yeah.
Or maybe you want to finish on that. There's a nice tune.
You've mentioned it. Let's drop that, and we might have time for one more as well. Keep it locked.
I can hear Kashmir being shouted.
There you go. Hip Hop Show.
Oh yeah, Spencer Stepper, Love and Director, Hip Hop Show 105 represent. We are still here with Rawganics, and we've only got such like small time left as well of the show, but I don't know, I could demand another hour, but unfortunately another hour's not what we got.
We'll come back if you need us. You guys make us feel real welcome.
Well, mate, you're definitely always welcome, mate. Honestly,
always welcome.
Holler at us.
Honestly, we can literally sit here and like feel even more inspired from your stories and stuff. But like, what could you give? Like, what advice could you give to like the young generation of like hip hop around Cambridge as well? Like, how can we like put ourselves out there? How can we build ourselves to become like that next level of what Rawganics had?
Pull together and really mean it. come together. Just sorry, I will work away from your mic. Yeah, pull together and just do what we did. We've given you like the blueprint, you know what I mean, and you've got the idea and the gist of what we did and how we did it. So just try and pull that together. Think of the elements of what you need at your show. Then, so, you know, if you need camera people and that, go find these people. You've got guys here, you know what I mean? Find these people and start pulling it together as your team. But make sure they're people that are going to be with you for a while. You know what I mean? Not people that like just come and go or whatever. A solid little base and then go from there. You're going to have some advice on this, I know as well. So hit them up, man.
Yeah, I would say definitely you've got to pull together. But I would also say you've got to just dig deep on what hip hop is, right? You've got to be original. Yeah? Like, we can sit here and talk about what we did and blueprints and blah blah blah, but you know what we did was slightly different from what we'd done before or somebody else had done before. So you just change it a little bit. You just put your stamp on it. It's got to be about you. It can't be just copying somebody else. So whether that's with your music or the promotion that you're putting on or whatever, be yourself, be original. That was, you know, when we're coming up in our generation of hip hop, it was all about no biting. Yeah. You know, you've got to be original. You can't just take someone else's style or flow or lyrics.
And that's how you made it, right? Originality.
Exactly. And you think about all of those MCs then from the 80s and 90s. You know, you can pick out their voices. You can pick out the differences. Yeah. And what I hear too much of now, especially in UK hip hop, is
they sound the same.
People sounding the same.
It's just clones.
Yeah.
Just one clone after another.
Task Force term for it used to be microclones. Yeah. Don't be a microclone. Don't be a little Stan that just wants to be, you know, in the US they wanted to be Eminem, you know. Over here they want to be one of Task Force or they want to be do you know what I mean? But you look at the artists that make it in the UK and really have a fan base that is their own. They're original. Yeah. They've got their own style, they've got their own lyrics, they experiment with flows, they experiment with music, they're free with music. So I would say try and keep that originality in there. And just you'll know when it's if it's putting on a promotion, you'll know when it's ready. But if it's making music, have quality control around it as well. Don't just put on your mates and say, yeah, he can spit a bit. He's
yeah. I love that.
You've got to know what the level is. So listen to this music that was 20 years ago, that where you couldn't just make it in your bedroom. You had to go to the studio. You had to pay for studio time. Do you know what I mean? And therefore, it had a quality level. You weren't going to mess about and just put out something that you could just make in half an hour. You might have to spend a week making the track and mixing it down and doing all different edits to it. So know when it's ready. Be critical amongst each other and say, no, you can make that better. You know, that beat could be better.
Stepper's good for that already. He's good for that already. Yeah, absolutely.
And I see people, don't get me wrong, I see people that are around us here in Cambridge who do have that level. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, one of the people I want to big up and a shout out for a dance as well is Big Smash. Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Next Friday.
Yes, Ash.
Yeah. Is it this Friday?
This Friday coming. This Friday. Or it would have just happened actually for the listener, but for YouTube's sake, There
you go.
It might have already happened if you're listening, but
so BSB Promotions Productions, they're going to be doing their album launch.
Amazing.
Friday.
Bridge
Free
City
hip hop
Story.
show. Bridge City Story is called. Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
You know, if you're into hip hop and you're seeing a free show of quality artists like that, I mean, you've got to be there, right?
Exactly.
You know, you've got no excuse not to be there because you know that the quality's there. You know that they're real. You know they're original, right? They're putting in themselves into the music. So just stick with
Great advice from Loftie and Shiggz. We are out of time. A big shout out to my co-hosts, Special Ed, Fen Stepper. This one was way overdue. I'm so glad it's happened, and it's been a real amazing insight into that time, and great advice for how we can push it
thanks
forward.
for having us massively.
Thank you for your time, guys. Really appreciate it.
I'm going to finish with
Special Ed, Fen Stepper. Hip Hop 105.
We're going to finish with Oh You Want More, because we do want more. We're going to keep pushing. Come on.
Always want more. Yes.